And now, straight from the horse's mouth, our Neil Young News Report.
Smell the horse on this one.
With this week's update from ThrashersWheat.org, here's Thrasher.
Hey, Thrasher here with this week's Neil Young News, and we do have lots of fresh wheat this week. Last week we took the week off because of the annual Farm Aid concert 2013 up in New York, and by now most folks have either seen or heard the concert, the performances, another great annual benefit for a great cause, the family farmers, and the whole organic slow food movement. So just kind of recapping things. Again, most folks have probably heard the set list and lots of commentary on that on the various blogs and Facebook and so forth. So we'll just add a few thoughts along the way here as you're enjoying replay of this here on WBKM, and Tony and Eric were there and witnessed the whole concert and been bringing back some reports on that. But from our perspective, certainly this will go down as probably the most remarkable Neil Young set in the history of Farm Aid. Which really goes to say a lot. Well, for a couple things, what didn't happen was we didn't get the usual homegrown. I think it's been pointed out that Neil has performed the song Homegrown at every Farm Aid in history. We'll have to go back and check that over on Sugar Mountain to verify that, but anyway, what we did have, as you know by now, is lots of covers and first-time performances of covers. So how did this all come about? Well, it seems as if there was a last-minute change of plans in terms of what Neil Young was planning to do at Farm Aid. And it seems to center around a conversation that Neil Young had with Pete Seeger backstage. And certainly Pete Seeger was the surprise performer of the day, and certainly a legendary icon who literally needs no introduction, and had a tremendously warm welcome there. But Neil talked about this on stage, having a conversation with Pete Seeger about Phil Ochs. And Phil Ochs was a folk singer in the 60s who met untimely demise at a young age, but certainly had tremendous potential. And Pete Seeger had said to Neil about how much he had regretted not doing more to help out Phil Ochs there in his final days, and how that was a regret. And certainly Pete Seeger's 94, and to say something like that to Neil in that kind of context apparently really had an impact on Neil, because Neil had performed This Land Is Your Land with the other Farm Aid board members just moments before this, with Willie Nelson and John Mellencamp and Dave Matthews. And when Neil came out and performed his set before, or actually in the middle of one of the songs, he started talking about this story from Pete, and then segged into talking about his experience with Kurt Cobain. Now, Neil did not mention Kurt Cobain by name, but clearly that was who he was referring to about having a similar experience. And Neil was essentially saying something to the effect of, not regretting, what you could or couldn't have done years and years later. Unfortunately, as Neil was going into all this, someone from the audience decided that they wanted to hear music rather than have Neil talk about something very important. And certainly, a highlight, if you will, was Neil basically, saying, I work for me, which probably says more right there about who Neil Young is and what he's all about than just about anything. So again, you're listening to it here on WBKM, and you've probably seen it on YouTube's or were there in person, but certainly a real highlight there. And again, it was a great day if you were a Neil Young fan right from the get-go. He came out and played with Peggy Young and the Survivors. He sat in on their entire set. He came out again to play This Land Is Your Land with the Farm Aid Board and Pete Seeger. And then he proceeded with his set of a number of different covers, Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan, which is certainly something he's done many times, but then a Gordon Lightfoot song, and an Ivory Joe Hunter song, which I think pretty much everyone had to look that up. A Tim Hardin song, again, another acclaimed folk singer from the 60s, and then a Phil Oakes song, Changes. And then after Neil finished his set, he came back on stage with Willie for a couple more songs that he guested on, including Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die and I Saw the Light. So, again, a tremendous day there for Neil Young fans at Farm Aid. And if you've never been to Farm Aid, like the Bridge concert, it's definitely something that you have to do at least once in your lifetime to really experience that. As wonderful as things are, like YouTube, nothing like being there. And as we like to mention, there's a bumper sticker somewhere that says live music is better. But we digress. So probably aside from that little Farm Aid wrap up, we'll just kind of leave it at this, where at another point Neil Young started talking about what Farm Aid is all about and what the farmers can do in terms of climate change, and also just said point blank, somebody's got to tell the truth. So certainly that's one of the things that we love most about Neil Young. So wrapping up here, the other news item of the week was that there was a surprise performance, surprise if you weren't sort of in the know, if you will, of a benefit in New York City. This was a benefit for the Ocean Elders organization, which is a organization dedicated to protecting the world's oceans. But Neil played a couple songs, two songs, Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan and Changes by Phil Oakes. So it seems like this encounter with Pete Seeger and the discussion of Phil Oakes really seemed to have had an impact on Neil, and definitely a song that I think everyone needs to probably check out a little bit more about what Neil and Phil Oakes were saying in the song Changes. So in the meantime, until next time, keep on rocking in the free world.